Hello, welcome to this week's Cookies Rambles. Got a microphone in my hand this week. Just got back from the beautiful Lady Bower and Derwent reservoirs. Just done a Sunday long run around there. 2.5 hours out. Which shoot off straight after because my mileage on my car was 18 to 0. And the closest petrol station was 16 miles away. So yeah, we were touching cloth as we were on the way back towards Sheffield, but we found somewhere and we didn't break down. My own fault. So yeah, just finished my highest mileage week of the marathon block so far. I've done 116.5 miles and I've run for like around 13.5 hours. With my long run this morning of 24 mile that incorporated a bit of a marathon session as well. So I did 8 mile like steady, which ended up being around just under 7s, and then we did a little bit quicker. Well, I said just under 7s, it were about 6:35s, I think. And then we did a bit quicker for 6 mile, which ended up being around 6s, and then we did some marathon pace for 4 mile, which ended up being around 5:30s. And then the last 6 mile were just easy, which ended up being about 6:50s. So yeah, built a bit of a session into my 24 mile to keep it interesting. But halfway around, and to be honest, yeah, whilst I was running around, it got me thinking, how far should your long run be? So I'm not going to come in here and I'm not going to tell you how far your specific long run should be. What I'm going to do is try and give you some like knowledge so then you can decide how far your own long run can be. So I treat it two particular ways. You can either focus on mileage or you can focus on time on feet. And my time on feet is usually for my easier runs. My mileage is usually for my sessions and my runs where I'm incorporating a bit of distance efforts and stuff like that. But you can still do timed efforts, which a lot of people prefer because you're clocking down the clock then. Your body doesn't know mileage, so it doesn't know how far a mile is, it doesn't know how far 2 mile is, it doesn't know how far a marathon is. It only knows running for a set amount of time. So your heart working for a set amount of time. Obviously, there's variables with that, so you can run hard for a set amount of time with your heart rate higher, or you can run easy for a set amount of time with your heart rate lower. So yeah, there's variables you can play with your Sunday long run. So you might want to go out and focus on certain distance or certain time. My 24 mile was a bit of both today. So I planned to do 24 mile because that was the distance I wanted, but I wanted a minimum of 2.5 hours. So if I got to 24 mile or not to 24 mile, I'd still run until 2.5 hours, and that I did. I did 2 hours 30 and 30 because the ambition is that is just a little bit over my marathon time on feet. So the ambition is to try and go just a little bit over the time on feet that I will be doing for a marathon. So yeah, there's other variables that you can play with.
Pulling me down the hill.
You look real good. Seen a bit, Phoebe? Yeah, so in that, I've run every day since 30th of November 2015, and I've took my marathon time from 4 hours 4, which I'm quite proud of, to be honest, to 2 hours 25. And I've done over 907 events across loads of distances, but most of all I've done 39 marathons in that time. That's my like little baby, the marathon. It's the event that I enjoy the most. So yeah, the long run serves a purpose, like in your training. So it's not just specific to a marathon, it can be applied to anything, which from a 100 metre sprinter, I hope, up to someone that is doing a marathon, and obviously an ultra marathon, because long running is their game, that's what they do. used to be a guy that used to come to Barnsley Parkrun called Norman Cole years ago. We used to call him Storm and Norman. And I used to ask him, what kind of training you done this week, Norman? He used to tell me he'd done a parkrun on a Saturday, and then his missus would take him around shops and he'd do a bit of gardening, take dog for a walk, and that used to be his training. So yeah, there's little bits that it doesn't all have to be running, doesn't all have to be putting one foot in front of the other. Just spending time on feet can contribute to part of your long run. Back from his dog walk and his cannon all food. 36,000 steps today, so that leads me on to something else. So yeah, when you do a marathon, when I've done a marathon, I usually range between 31 and probably about 38,000 steps, depends which marathon I do. Obviously London is a bit more because you have to travel quite a long distance to get to the start and travel after the race as well. Obviously after the race it counts, but it doesn't because it's not your performance. So yeah, it's about that time on feet and adapting that to what suits you. But yeah, when I'm long running, so particular today, that's the reason I've gone for a walk with the dogs afterwards, because it's extending that time on feet and making sure that you can still put it out whilst you're still in training by not actually doing a little bit of running. And there's a reason why there's a lot of postmen and postwomen or post people that we see that are quite good long distance marathon runners and long distance runners. Yeah, there's something to take away in that. And now for some theory. So yeah, I do a fair bit of reading, and there's Pete Fitzinger, if I pronounced it that, I think it's got a silent P, and he explains in his book Advanced Marathoning about the physiological benefits of a long run, and long training improves your ability to maintain a pace for longer. So churning out long runs routinely within your training plan can improve your ability to maintain that pace, especially when push comes to shove during a marathon. And then the psychological benefits to give you the confidence that you can handle the race distance. So you've got to ask yourself, what is the reason that I am doing this long run? And half of it is stacking time and time again this confidence that you can actually handle the distance and put it out, especially when it comes to race day. Then there's the book as well, Jack Daniels. Yeah, actually got a copy of it here. So Jack Daniels' running formula. There's quite a lot of good sessions in this book actually. So if you grab a copy, just to pick up some sessional ideas. But believing that your long runs should comprise of 20 to 25% of your weekly volume for that week. So this week I've done 116.5. So 10% of that is it would be, yeah, so 10% of that is 11.6, got that right, and then it's 23.3 for your mileage. So for me this week I'll be bang on a book for around 20-21% of my weekly mileage from this week will be consumed in my long run. And then that usually means long runs that go further in distance, your weekly volume should go up in theory, but I know for a lot of people that it doesn't. And then lastly, so I'm a big believer of training beyond the distance, something that I've advocated for quite a long time. There's a period of time where I was doing 180 mile week. Don't ask me. Yeah, and I'll not be going there again. But going longer than distance. So if you are training for a 10k, going out and doing an 8 mile or a 10 mile run, just so that your training stimulus can overshadow and it can compensate for that those performance gains, knowing that when you come to race day that you've gone further on this before, you've handled it in training. And then there's a coach called Danny McKay saying runners that are running longer than a mile at least need to run for at least 90 minutes to recruit fast twitch muscle fibers, metabolically prepare the body to race for that long distance, which it does make a difference come race day. If your body can handle and recruit certain type of energy, whether it's from your fat stores, your carbohydrate stores, and how you can churn that out on race day, the better marathon runners burn fat as an energy resource, because fat If you set it on fire, it'll burn for longer. So yeah, it's just about getting your body to adapt and overcome, and you can only do that through training and putting yourself in that position before you get to race day. Yeah, so that's my summary of like how far should you long run. So I've got some takeaway messages for you. So if you are long running, try and take on the principle of time on feet over distance, because your body doesn't know how far you are actually running. It just knows how long you are running for and how long your heart rate is sustaining for. And then make sure that your long run is building your confidence so you can compete at the distance that you want to compete at. So if your long run isn't building your confidence or not getting something out of it that is going to boost your confidence, then think about how can you change it so that it does. And then number 3, your long run is there to build your aerobic system. It's there to work in certain types of energies, certain types of heart rate zones, but it's there to build your aerobic system. You can build sessions into it to build and touch on like your lactate threshold, your anaerobics and all that stuff. But yeah, it is there to build your aerobic system so that you can handle it when it comes to race day. It's also there as a position, so number 4, to build your body's ability to use energy use fat as an energy source or use your carbohydrates as an energy source. It's there so that you can practice fueling on race day. So that's whether you're taking your gels, your liquids, your fluids, whatever you're doing, or your sherbet lemons as I've done in the past. With your long run, when you are building it, gradually increase it. Don't just jump in 2 feet first. As runners, we all love that, going from 0 to 100 really, really quickly. But yeah, just gradually increase it and add a little bit on each week, and don't expect to be able to run 20 mile if you've never run 20 mile before. And it also builds your body's ability to cope under fatigue. So putting in some faster efforts, doing progressive long runs, hitting race paces in long runs. It's there to build your body's like resilience under fatigue, and that's called race simulation. So yeah, those are my key takeaways. I've not mentioned up until now a particular distance that you need to do for a long run. That is up to you. It's your training. It's down to you. But yeah, think about the distance that you are competing at, and is it worthwhile for you to get there? And are you going to get the most out of your training? Yeah, so cheers for listening to me Cookies ramble this week about long run and how far should you long run. I hope you've learned something, even just a little bit. For me, it's been 116.5 miles this week, 30.5 miles worth of running, and a 24-mile long run. I've done a track 5k race, I've done a session for the marathon, and then we've had an easy jog round a park run. But it's all relative and it's all building towards that end goal. So yeah, if you've liked it this week, obviously like, subscribe, comment, interact, and I'll see you next week on Cookies Rambles. Just keep running and see you in a bit. Bye.